What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and today we're going to be reviewing Dirt Rally. This game is no longer in early access as the update that took it to 1.0 status came out last week. I talked about the Wonderland update itself previously. However, I feel like now is the time to go ahead and wrap things up for those of you guys who weren't interested in the early access at all, and you're just now looking at the game as a, should I purchase this or should I not, rather than have you go back through all the videos where I discuss Dirt Rally and try and keep track of where everything else is going. We're just going to wrap everything up here. And first of all, I would like to request that you please hold your comments until the end of this video, because it's going to make more sense if you watch the whole video for reasons you'll figure out later. So let us begin with the simple question of, what is Dirt Rally? Well, Dirt Rally is the next game in the Dirt franchise from Codemasters. However, it really has nothing to do at all with the Dirt franchise from Codemasters. Do not be expecting Dirt 4, because you're going to get pretty much the exact opposite game of the previous Dirt titles and even many of the Colin McRae Rally titles. This is very much a return to roots of a stripped down, simple, straight ahead, no BS racing game with actually a good level of realism, which is one of the main focuses of this title. The focus on realism is what separates this game from the previous Dirt titles, as well as any other rally game on the market currently. It's literally been over 10 years since Richard Burns' Rally, a game that probably most of you guys out there watching this video have never even heard of, that there's actually been a rally game that's even tried to be realistic. This game has actually delivered a fairly solid level of realism, not to the point where I'd say it's absolutely overbearing and uncompromising in its simulation level. However, it's delivered an authentic experience that's good enough that someone like me who's into sim racing can appreciate and get on with without going too crazy saying, this is wrong, this should be different, this is that, and things like that. Whereas people who aren't so into sim racing can look at it and say, damn, this game is difficult, and it's going to be uncompromisingly difficult, and I'm going to need to learn what I'm doing and if I'm going to actually do any good at this game. It fits in a very, very nice area in that sense, in my opinion, especially coupled with the fact that, again, it's been over a decade since we've seen a rally game even try and be realistic. That is overall this game's X factor. That is what makes this game, and that is why this game has had the success in the early access campaign that it has achieved. The focus on realism doesn't just apply to the cars, however. The stage design in particular, I must say, is fantastic. The stages in this game are actually modeled after real-world rally stages, and because of that, they actually feel proper. I've seen way too many rally games over the years come and go where the stages have gotten wider and wider and wider to the point where it feels like you're racing on a modern Formula 1 circuit and there's no trees, no berms, or anything that could potentially cause you to crash, because people don't like crashing because that makes them feel bad. No, this game gives you maybe a little bit too wide of stages, but still proper, trees right there, and it says, here you go, have at it. And that is Dirt Rally in a nutshell. The game is what it is, and it doesn't give a darn that it isn't what it isn't. For example, here in 2015 going on 2016, things you would expect to find in a racing game these days: menu music consisting of licensed musical tracks from various rock and or alternative artists. Nope, this game doesn't have it. The menu music in this game is basically like a 45-second long looping track that goes on and on and on forever. You're not going to see your drivers celebrating on the podium after winning the rally. You're not going to see your crew working on your car during the service stages. Nope, not going to have that. It's not in this game. Flashy menus that are overly complex and difficult to navigate? No. This game has very simple, basic menus that are so simple and basic, it's probably actually to the detriment of the game that there's not more flash and pizzazz to them. But you know what? By God, the game is what the game is, and it doesn't care that it isn't what it isn't. Let's move on to the content side of things, and here's where things start to fall apart a little bit for Dirt Rally. Included in the 1.0 release of this game are 6 rally locations, 3 rallycross circuits, as well as 1.5 hill climb stages. I say 1.5 because there's actually 2 versions of Pikes Peak. One is paved, one is mixed surface with both pavement and gravel, so it's different, but it's not really different. For each of the rally locations, you're going to see 2 long stages. These are generally 10 to 15 kilometers long, and they also come with reverse variants, as you would expect to see in rally racing. From there, those stages are also chopped in half to give you even smaller sections, which are frequently used with the lower powered cars in this game, sort of as a sprint stage. Because of this, however, you're going to be seeing a lot of the locations over and over and over and over again, and that really does spoil the game. You know, because part of rally racing is the fact that you don't know what's over the corner, really. You're listening to your co-driver, you're not quite sure, there's that little bit of trepidation there. However, when you've seen the same stage over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, it does get to the point where you remember where things are, and it no longer has that same luster as when you were screaming through the forest totally blind, hoping to not end up in a tree. In my opinion, the lack of rally stages in this game is this game's biggest problem. You then have 3 rallycross circuits, which I will admit I'm not a huge fan of rallycross. However, when there's only 3 rallycross circuits, it just doesn't feel like it actually makes a point to even include it in the game. It's just something that's there, but it doesn't really serve any purpose because it's so half-baked due to the amount of content on offer. Hill climb, again, is much the same. Yeah, Pikes Peak is awesome. Everybody likes screaming up a 14,000-foot mountain trying not to fall off the edge while you're doing your impersonation of Ari going up the mountain, you know, blocking out the sun. You know, come on, who hasn't seen Climb Dance? Come on. You know, who doesn't love that? But when there's only one hill climb included in the game, why even bother? Let's move on over to the cars of Dirt Rally. This game has cars from pretty much any era of rally that you could want. Starting off with the low-end 1960s front-wheel drive cars, up through the 80s with the Group B cars that come in both rear-wheel drive and four-wheel drive flavors, up to modern WRC machineries and a whole lot of stuff in between. Pretty much any type of rally car that you could want is probably in this game. While the game does offer tremendous diversity in its classes and the experiences that you're going to get when you're actually driving these things, at the same time, many of the classes just don't feel as fully fledged as they could, and in many instances are also defined by the cars that they don't feature. For example, because of licensing reasons, the Group A Toyota Celica does not make an appearance. The 2000s class originally started for the 2001 Ford Focus and the 2001 Subaru Impreza WRC cars, are those cars plus a 2007 Ford Focus plus a 2010 Citroen, but there's no 206, there's no Mitsubishi Evolutions, there's no Skoda, there's no Hyundai from that time period. It just kind of falls a little bit flat in that regard. While the game does give you a tremendous list of cars to play with and a lot of diversity in its car list, like I said, sometimes it is kind of defined by what cars don't make an appearance in this game, unfortunately. However, here is where I contradict what I just said. I've spent the majority of my playtime in this game driving 3 different cars. The Ford Escort Mark II, the BMW E30 M3, as well as the Lancia 037. Even if they added cars that I want to see in this game, such as the Group A Toyota Celica, which would probably be my top requested car, personally, I don't know if I would drive it that much because I just have so much fun driving those 3 cars in particular, and I like them for so many different reasons that I'm not sure it actually really matters. It's one of those cases where the way this game is built, if you find that car that you like, I have a good feeling that you're going to really like that car, even if it isn't necessarily the car specifically that you really wanted to drive. Switching gears into how everything works in this game. First of all, this game is primarily single-player oriented. The only multiplayer wheel-to-wheel action that you're going to find in this game is in the Rallycross mode. In the Rally mode, you can either do the events that Codemasters themselves puts up that change out on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, or alternatively, you can create a league in amongst your friends, and then you can go ahead and set what cars, what stages you're going to run, and then everybody basically runs them at their own leisure, more or less, and then their time shows up on the leaderboard, similar to what you'd see in a real rally. You're not going to see another car out there on a rally stage, and this is not all that unrealistic considering for the most part, generally, you don't see passes happen in rally racing unless one of the cars is significantly off the pace due to damage. So, yeah, some people have complained about that. Personally, I don't see that as a big deal, but it is something worth mentioning. As for your single-player experience, there are 2 different ways to enjoy this game. There is the custom event mode, which enables you to race any of the cars fully upgraded on any of the stages in any of the weather conditions available, and you can combine different stages into one rally event. That's on overall time, obviously. No unlocks required, nothing. Just straight out of the box, here you go, here's the game, enjoy it. It's good to see, as well as the career mode, which will start you off in the 1960s front-wheel drive cars, driving on several of the shorter stages available in the game, which you will quickly progress out of if you so choose. The game doesn't require you to move up to a faster class of cars, ever. It will only just increase the difficulty, use longer stages, more difficult AI, and things like that, which that's what I like to see from a career type of experience. You know, you have one side of things where you have no unlocks required, just allow me to get in the game and play without having to worry about that, and then you also have your side where you have enough progression to keep things interesting and give you somewhat of a reason to play, but at the same time isn't so overbearing that it totally ruins the game and forces the user to have to grind for a new car. For anyone who remembers the Project Cars review that I did, this is the single player experience that I want in a modern racing game. As for force feedback, I'm specifically putting this at this section of the video because it is something that is so highly subjective and will change from user to user, as well as the fact that it's so up to what steering wheel you have in the first place and how you have that steering wheel even set up outside of the game. I will say this game does give you a multitude of options to tweak your force feedback in-game. There are various other places where you can go ahead and download custom configurations for your force feedback outside the game and replace some files and maybe find the game more to your liking, which if you are having issues, I would suggest doing that. For me personally, compared to other games, I will say the force feedback is definitely a downside to this game. However, I've been able to get it tweaked and configured in the game now at this stage to the point where I can actually enjoy the game and not spend too much time worrying about the force feedback or complaining about things and just getting on about the day, having a boatload of fun, trying not to end up flying into a tree. One more thing that I feel that I must mention, damage. There is no realistic damage setting available in this game. There is damage available in this game, and it is capable of ending your rally on the spot if you hit something too hard, and your performance will be degraded. You'll also see the visual damage and things like that, you know, pile up over the course of the stage if you go bonking into everything. However, there is no setting that is actually realistic, and something that is so willing to say it's trying to be realistic and authentic and simulation, to not have a damage setting that correlates to some semblance of reality is kind of silly, especially when you can already end your rally on the spot. You already see the visual damage, so it kind of makes me say, well, hey, it's probably not one of those whole manufacturers saying don't smash your cars up in your game things, but rather we just didn't take the time to actually make this, which is unfortunate. This is something that could be a damage setting slider or an option in the game, as it is in many other games. However, for some reason it's just not available in this game, and that is to the game's detriment. It really is, because part of rally racing is limping a car through a stage trying to get to the next service stage, or alternatively, how many repairs can a person do with a set of zip ties and some pliers. I mean, that's what it is, and that type of experience is totally missing, unfortunately. I'm not saying that that should be the only damage setting, because I can understand having a more tame setting for people who are just getting into the game or don't want to have all of that difficulty there with it. However, for people like me and many other people watching this video, this is something that is a very big issue in its own right. Honestly, this is probably the second biggest problem I have with this game after the lack of content. Wrapping things up, Dirt Rally is a game that aims to deliver realism, and in many ways delivers, although in many ways also fails short. However, at the same time, it sits in a subgenre in the rally racing area that hasn't had any serious attempt at being realistic since Richard Burns' Rally, a game which was a massive commercial failure. And because of that, even though Richard Burns' Rally still stands up as one of the greatest racing simulations of all time, and many people, myself included, still play it today, there's room for Dirt, because it's been literally a decade. If you are willing to accept what this game is and what this game is not, I think you're going to have a heck of a lot of fun. If you're not willing to learn this game, not willing to understand it, not willing to put forth any level of effort, and you just want mindless fun, you're not going to have a good time. at all. This is a game of concentration. This is a game of difficulty. This is a game of challenge. This is a game of rally racing. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.
Crest, right 6 tights to 5 narrows, left 3 long, 60. Crest jump maybe, right 3 long, 60. Left 2 continues for 80 past lay-by. Into right 6. Into crest jump maybe 60. Keep left over crest. Right 6 long. Into left 6. And right 2 half long. Don't cut. Left 3 long. Keep right over crest. 80. Right 6 over small crest. Into left 4. 80. Left 6, 80 over small crest to finish.